When I first started thinking about building the Goodr culture and what would Goodr come to be known as, I was inspired by a lot of major tech companies, and I wanted the people that worked at Goodr to be known for something that stood for what we were doing. So I called it the Do Goodr culture, and it was really about the spirit of having a will to win, and the fight that we were in was all about hunger. We really wanted to end hunger. So everyone that I interviewed, everyone I talked to, I asked them, why is hunger important to you? Why does this mean something to you? And it was inspiring because across the board, several said, hey, I experienced hunger when I was in college or when I was younger, or even if I've never experienced hunger, I think what you've done has really inspired me to do more. And as I researched the stats, as I really started to dive into the problems that we were solving at Goodr, I just felt compelled to do this work. One of the very first hires that I ever made was Lynette. She was referred to me by my old CTO. And when I met Lynette, she was working for a large healthcare organization, MD Anderson, as a project manager. And we started speaking about what she had done, a lot of consulting on the side for startups. And one of the things she said she was really strong at was operations, creating processes, creating policies, procedures, HR. And that was something that I wasn't really strong at. And so I knew I had the vision for the business. I understood the goals and the roadmap that I wanted to take, but sometimes having all of that operationalized just isn't me because I'm kind of a scatterbrain. So Lynette was one of the first hires.
So we were working out of a co-working space called the Gathering Spot. So we would come, sometimes all work together, super early mornings, late nights, sometimes all-nighters, just coming up with different ideas, trying to build a business plan, really just trying to develop and build the best business and product that we could. And by product, I mean our technology. The tech has been a huge, impact on the company and helped us scale rather quickly. Back in the day, I say is, just really manual processes. Trying to take a manual process and make it as efficient as possible was what I was brought in to do. When we first started, a potential client or somebody who had extra food would just pick up the phone, call us and say, hey, we had extra food. We would tell them a time we could come out. It was us just in our personal vehicles coming out and going to these locations, for instance, Turner, picking up the food in our cars and then taking it to a nonprofit that was in the city of Atlanta so that they can distribute it to somebody who was going to eat it. Now, a client can request a pickup using our mobile app. They can view data associated with it and analytics on our online portal. Everything is pretty seamless. Working with Goodr has definitely changed my perception in reference to food waste. I never really paid attention to what I was wasting sitting down at a dinner table or, the crumbs in the bottom of a bag of chips. I'm not saying I was privileged, by far I wasn't. Definitely there were times of struggle, but when you're with people who don't even know where their next meal is coming from or value those 2 bites of that hamburger that I just threw away, it makes you think twice about waste. So on top of just the social impact and not wanting to take food away from those that really need it, just the environmental impact as well. I've learned so much over the time as we've scaled this business into organics recycling, what our food waste really does to the earth and the environment as a whole. The reason I do what I do is because I've always been a person who liked to help folks. I felt like there were times in my life when I was in need and didn't necessarily have somebody to lean on for that help. And you just never know. I believe in giving people their flowers while they're still alive. So you might tell somebody they're beautiful or give somebody a basket of fruit or give them a box of groceries, and that can change their entire perspective on life. You just don't know that. So to be able to help somebody who is truly in need and truly receiving of the help is definitely my life's goal. So the person that made my life the easiest so far with Goodr has been Zeb. Zeb came in as an intern for us. He actually stalked us. He met Jasmine at a talk that she was doing at his school.
And he came up to me and he said, you know, I just got back from Dubai and I visited Africa and I'm really into sustainability and the planet and, you know, getting rid of plastics, and I love food waste. I love that you're tackling this problem. And I was intrigued because he came at it from the sustainability side, where I really was coming into Goodr as, hey, all this food is going to waste. And yes, it's bad on the environment, but people are going hungry. But Zeb was able to really show me how bad it was on the environment.
So I started off interning January of 2018, and then I was pretty much just doing miscellaneous things. There wasn't like a real defined role, if you will, if it would be logistics or supply chain or just nonprofit management. It's kind of just, I just did what was asked of me. But then I started thinking ahead in the future, so I was putting together like scaling plans, like a list or Excel documents of, you know, these are the top cities that have the top Fortune 500 companies. Here are the places that have the highest or the lowest cost of living, comparing that to how much a meal costs, to the poverty rate, how many people live below, you know, X amount of dollars of yearly income, etc. And then I was assisting with pickups. So at that time, we were pretty much all doing pickups on our own personal vehicles. So we didn't have a van, we didn't have a real office. We were kind of meeting up at the gathering spot here and there, but everybody still had their own like actual full-time jobs, and we were just doing this kind of like on the side. I was still in school. It was my last semester of my senior year. They sat me down and asked me, specifically over the summer, do you still want to intern? What kind of role do you see yourself playing? So I told them logistics, pretty much anything that had to do with getting it from point A to point B. So since then, I've been the logistics director, and then as of February or March last year, I became a sustainability director, which I kind of really grew into that because that's kind of like how my lifestyle is anyways. So any food that's not salvageable or safe for people to eat, we would take like scraps or spoiled food, instead of throwing it in the trash, we would compost it or have it as animal feed. Right now I'm looking at ways to convert it to energy. So we either create biodiesel fuel, or the methane gas could be used on the grid for electricity. So we're looking at that. And then I'm also either looking at expanding us as just a sustainable, to make us just a sustainable waste management company as a whole, rather than just specifically focusing on food waste. I've discovered that that's one thing that I am good at, is putting pieces to the puzzle together and making it work effectively.
I've known Marley the longest. Obviously, she's my little sister, and she has been trying to work for Goodr, I would say, for like the last 3 years. She was working at Home Depot as an analyst, and we were always having her run different data scripts for our Excels. So we were always like, hey, we're trying to pull more data. Can you do this? We're putting these reports together. And so on a constant basis, I was always pulling her in to kind of use her analytical knowledge. And she finally just said, Jasmine, like, I really want to leave Home Depot. I really want to work for Goodr. And we had a position open, and I made everybody else interview her and talk to her, but she really was the best. I mean, she's a graduate of Spelman, she's very detail oriented, and she really has helped us kind of create more processes and launch several programs, and she's really made me proud.
So I do a little bit of everything. That's the startup life. So my official title is project manager, but I'm kind of like the office manager too. So kind of working the front desk, reception, administrative duties, kind of helping Jasmine with all her scheduling and appointments. And then I do like all team activities, but I have a background in business development and data analytics. So I help with business development. I'm also helping like create reports and things like that for the team. And I'm also the part-time bartender. I think you kind of have to have the personality for a startup, because I can't be doing like the same thing every day. Like, I need change. So I like that no day is the same. I mean, I think with a startup, it's, for us, we all have a common goal, so we kind of deal with the curveballs and the things like that. That's just part of the game. I think we deal with it pretty good. Like, we all really like and respect each other. We're like a team, we're a family. You know, we might bump heads from time to time, but I think we have a common goal, and then again, like, you know, our whole purpose is ending hunger, so there's nothing that we feel like we can't conquer. I'll never forget, like 2 years ago, I tweeted, and I now take this statement back, but I tweeted, never take a to-go plate from a date. And everyone, the tweet went viral. Everyone was like, what? You're wasting food? Da, 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 da. And now I think about that. I've been on a couple dates and I take the to-go box now because I don't want to waste food. I also I don't eat as much. And now even like we're at restaurants, like I think to ask, like, what are you guys doing with this excess food at the end of the night? Because just so much goes to waste. And like I said, being this week and being in those neighborhoods where people are hungry and having people call me and say they're hungry, they don't know how they're gonna get their next meal. Like every time you eat and you have the blessing to know where your next meal comes from, you really think about it. And so it just really puts a lot into perspective. So yeah, we don't waste food in our household. We'll always find someone to give it to. And I think Goodr has definitely made me be like that.
I've known Terrence for over 10 years. I actually met him through his father. I was attending the National Black MBA Association annual conference that was being held in LA. And at the time, I was just getting started with Black Celebrity Giving and met his father and a few other friends. And I was telling him, he said, oh, you've got to meet my son. He's doing this campaign to send shoes to children in Africa. And I was like, definitely, I want to meet him. And so I happened to be in Atlanta, maybe like 3 weeks later, and I met Terrence. He's this little preppy kid. It's the funniest story. I always make fun of him. He came in with like a sweater tied around his shoulders and like a little polo and some khakis and the Sperry's, the boat shoes. And I was like, who is this little kid? It was the funniest thing. But he was sharp, and he was a sophomore at Morehouse at the time. And we just hit it off. When I was building Goodr, I would see him, he would comment, he would be like, I love what you're building. How can I help you? He had just finished touring with Justin Bieber and was kind of like doing a lot of technology consulting, and I was seeing what he was doing, some activations and things he was leading with Kevin Hart and others, and so I knew he was kind of dabbling in this space. Terrence has a background in logistics. He studied at King's School of Economics in London. Of course, he went to Morehouse, and so he understood a lot of what it was that I was building, but more so he is a finance major.
And so from the very beginning of, like before Goodr, when she was just doing her Sunday Souls and whatnot, I would go and help with a lot of that stuff before it was Goodr. And then when she wanted to start Goodr, I still have the text messages. She's like, yo, I got this idea. You free to hop on the phone? It's like New Year's 2017. And she's like, can you hop on the phone? And it's like first week of 2017, we're on the phone talking about, what this would look like. And so Lynette, Zeb, people like that were in Atlanta, they were all working with Jasmine in a more frequent space because they were there. But I was kind of like that counsel in her ear, if you will. She just calling and letting me know how things were going. And then it was like, yo, why don't you come to the A and see if this is something that you really want to get involved in more of like a full-time capacity. Jasmine and I had always known, we had interest in working together. And so I took a flight. Actually, this was 2016. I believe this was, 2016. Late 2016 is when Jasmine was first telling me about Goodr. Early January 2017, she got into a program with Pivotal Software and asked, if I'd be interested in coming to Atlanta to partake in this product development sprint and to just learn more about what she was working on. And so I flew to Atlanta. This had to be like April 2017. And we were in this design sprint for about 4 or 5 days. First time I ever participated in something like this, but learned a lot immensely about the product, her vision, and I knew there that, she was building something special and something that I wanted to be a part of.
I love my team because they allow me to be hard, they allow me to be vulnerable, but they also allow me to be accountable to them and to those that we serve.
Still to come on Growing Goodr.
Today is the grand opening of the Goodr headquarters right here off of the Beltline in Midtown Atlanta, and I am so excited. We have a lot of people coming to celebrate with us. We are getting a proclamation today. It's going to be Do Goodr Day, and this is the full culmination of what I've been working for the past 3 years. This is it. This is like a dream come true. I've never had a brick and mortar building ever. And, to open the doors here to Goodr and to know that my staff and me are going to have a place to come and build, I think that this is the soil of which Goodr will grow and expand across the nation, and I'm really excited about it.